Long ago, nestled among the lush hills and peaceful waters, there was a village by a vast and tranquil lake. The villagers relied on the lake for their livelihood, and they treated it with great reverence. Among the villagers lived a young woman named Alira, who was known for her kindness, beauty, and gentle spirit. Her long, dark hair flowed like the currents of the lake, and her eyes sparkled with the warmth of the sun on water. She was beloved by all who knew her, especially her parents, for Alira was their only child. One hot summer day, Alira's mother, desperate for fish, rowed out onto the lake. After hours of waiting patiently, she caught nothing. Frustrated and disheartened, she cried out to the lake spirit, whom the villagers believed governed the waters. "Oh, great spirit of the lake," she pleaded, "if you bless me with an abundant catch, I promise to offer you my daughter, Alira, in return." As soon as she made this foolish promise, the waters around her boat swirled, and fish filled her nets. Overjoyed, she rowed back home, forgetting the reckless vow she had just made. That evening, the family gathered for a feast, celebrating the unexpected bounty from the lake. They laughed, sang songs, and enjoyed the rich, fresh fish that Alira's mother had caught. Alira, content and full from the delicious meal, went to bed that night with a peaceful heart. She drifted into a deep sleep, unaware that her life was about to change forever. As the moon rose high over the lake, Alira woke suddenly. A strange feeling filled the room, and as she looked around, she saw a figure standing by the window. A handsome young man with eyes that shimmered like the surface of the lake under the moonlight. His presence startled her at first, but there was something calming about him, something familiar. His gentle smile and soft voice reassured her, and she felt an immediate connection to him. From that night on, the mysterious young man visited Alira regularly. He came only after dark, always leaving before the first light of dawn, so that her family would not see him. As the days passed, Alira's feelings for him grew stronger, and soon they were deeply in love. He spoke to her about the lake, the beauty of the waters, and the mysteries it held, but he never told her where he went during the day or who he truly was. Though curious, Alira was too swept up in the joy of their love to question him deeply. One evening, the young man proposed to her, asking for her hand in marriage. Overcome with love, Alira accepted without hesitation. She was ready to spend her life with him, no matter where he came from or what secrets he kept. However, as time passed, Alira couldn't shake the nagging feeling that there was something more to his mysterious absences during the day. She decided to confide in her father, who was wise and protective of his daughter. After listening to Alira's story, her father grew concerned. He knew the tales of spirits and otherworldly beings who sometimes meddled in the lives of mortals, and he suspected that Alira's lover might not be a man at all. "My daughter," he said gently, "you must find out the truth. Take a length of thread and tie it to his robe the next time he leaves in the night. Follow the thread, and it will lead you to where he goes." That night, after her lover had come to visit her, Alira secretly followed her father's advice. As the young man rose to leave, she quietly attached a piece of thread to the hem of his robe, letting it trail behind him as he disappeared into the night. Once he was gone, Alira picked up the end of the thread and followed it, her heart racing with both fear and curiosity. The moonlight guided her through the village and into the woods that bordered the lake. She followed the thread through the trees until she reached the edge of the water. There, to her amazement, she saw her lover standing on the shore, gazing out at the lake. But before she could call out to him, he stepped into the water. Slowly he walked deeper and deeper until the lake swallowed him whole, and he vanished beneath its surface. Alira waited for him to resurface, but he never did. She stood frozen in shock, unable to comprehend what she had just seen. Her lover was not a man. He was the spirit of the lake. Heartbroken and confused, Alira returned home and told her father what she had discovered. Her father, filled with anger, now knew the truth. The lake spirit had deceived his daughter, and he vowed to confront him. Without hesitation, Alira's father gathered the men of the village, and together they marched to the lake, ready to face the spirit. They searched the waters and called out to the spirit, demanding that he reveal himself. As they peered into the depths of the lake, they saw a shadowy figure moving beneath the surface. It was the lake spirit, watching them from the murky waters. It was then that Alira's mother, who had accompanied them, suddenly remembered her broken promise. She realized with horror that the spirit had come to claim the daughter she had vowed to give. Trembling with guilt, she confessed everything to her husband and the villagers, how she had promised Alira to the lake spirit in exchange for fish, and how she had forgotten to keep her word. The weight of her broken vow hung heavily in the air, and Alira was devastated by the truth. That night, the lake spirit returned to Alira. His once gentle demeanor had turned cold, and his eyes, once full of love, now blazed with anger. "You were promised me," he said, his voice filled with fury. "You are mine, and I will not let you go." Alira, her heart heavy with sorrow, told him that she could no longer be with him. "I cannot marry you," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "You are not a man, but a spirit. Our love cannot continue." Enraged by her rejection, the lake spirit's face twisted with fury. He threatened to take her life if she did not agree to be with him. But Alira, though heartbroken, stood her ground. "I will not be yours," she said firmly, though her voice trembled. The lake spirit, seething with rage, stormed out of her home and disappeared into the night, leaving her alone and filled with dread. A few days later, the skies darkened, and a violent storm descended upon the village. The wind howled, and the rain poured down relentlessly, flooding the fields and homes. The lake overflowed, and its waters rose higher and higher, threatening to drown the entire village. The villagers, terrified and desperate, fled to the hills, watching in horror as the water consumed their land. The storm raged on for days, showing no sign of stopping. The villagers soon realized that the flood was the work of the lake spirit, taking his revenge on Alira's family for breaking the vow. In their panic, they began to blame Alira's mother, cursing her for making such a promise and putting the entire village in danger. Realizing there was no other way to stop the destruction, Alira's mother made a terrible decision. With tears in her eyes and a heavy heart, she knew she had to fulfill the promise she had made. She pushed Alira into the lake, sacrificing her own daughter to the spirit in the hope that the storm would subside. As Alira sank beneath the surface, the waters suddenly calmed. The storm ended, and the lake returned to its peaceful state. The villagers breathed a sigh of relief, but Alira's mother was overcome with grief. She searched the waters, hoping to find her daughter, but instead, she found something extraordinary. Rising from the depths of the lake, she saw two large fish. One of them was half fish, half woman. It was Alira, transformed into a mermaid. Though her heart ached for her lost daughter, there was a small glimmer of hope in seeing her alive, albeit in a different form. As time passed, Alira, now a mermaid, gave birth to a tiny fish child. One day she decided to visit her family, leaving her precious child in a safe spot near the water. When she returned, however, she found that her relatives had mistakenly eaten the baby fish, thinking it was a gift from the lake. Alira was devastated, but her family, realizing their tragic error, managed to save a small bone from the fish. With a heavy heart, Alira took the bone and, using her magic, transformed it back into her tiny child. She returned to her underwater home with her baby, determined never to leave again. When her partner, the lake spirit, noticed the child looking weak, he asked what had happened. Alira, knowing that the child's spirit had been disturbed, explained that her uncle had been upset by her prolonged absence, causing the fish child to grow weak. The villagers believed that if an uncle was unhappy, misfortune would follow. The legend of Alira and her tragic love story lived on in the village for generations. Her story was remembered as a tale of love, loss, and the deep connections between humans and the spirits of nature. To this day, the villagers honor the memory of Alira and the fish that they believe were transformed from humans, never to be eaten, but revered as sacred beings in the lake,